The massive space station hung in orbit around Zentera Prime, like a silver crown against the purple sky. Inside the Great Hall, beings from across the galaxy gathered for another routine meeting. The air buzzed with different languages, and the soft hum of translation devices. Admiral Kextai stood at the center podium, his green scales gleaming under the bright lights. He was 8 feet tall with yellow eyes that moved slowly across the crowd. In his clawed hands, he held a data pad that would soon change everything. Fellow council members, his deep voice boomed through the chamber. Today I present findings from the Outer Rim territories. Our archaeological teams have discovered something unusual. The crowd quieted. Representatives from dozens of worlds leaned forward in their seats. Some had 4 arms, others had wings, and a few glowed with their own inner light. But all shared the same curious expression. We found ruins on 7 different worlds. Kextai continued. These ruins are old, very old. They speak of a species called humans. A ripple of whispers moved through the assembly. Many had never heard this word before. The Admiral activated a holographic display. Images of strange symbols and drawings filled the air above the crowd. According to these records, humans were bipedal mammals. They had 2 arms, 2 legs, and walked upright like many of us do. Ambassador Velnara rose from her crystal throne. Her body was made of living diamond, and light danced through her form as she moved. Admiral, what makes this discovery significant? Many species fit that description. Kextai's eyes narrowed. The ruins claimed these humans possessed incredible technology. Ships that could travel faster than light without hyperspace drives. Weapons that could crack planets in half. The records say they were fierce warriors who never surrendered. The hall erupted in laughter. The sound echoed off the curved walls like thunder. Even the floating gas beings rippled with what might have been amusement. Hive Queen Zuwaixera clicked her mandibles together rapidly. Her insect features twisted into what her species considered a smile. Respected Admiral, surely you do not believe these fairy tales? Every primitive world creates legends of mighty ancestors. More laughter filled the chamber. A slug-like creature from the moisture systems slithered closer to the podium. Perhaps these humans had magic as well? Could they breathe in space and eat stars for breakfast? The mockery continued for several minutes. Kextai's scales darkened with embarrassment, but he pressed on. The evidence appears across multiple worlds. The symbols are consistent. The technology descriptions match perfectly between sites that are thousands of light years apart. Dr. Quintal stood up in the science section. He was a small, gray being with large black eyes and thin limbs. Council members, please listen. I have studied these ruins personally. The Admiral speaks truth. The evidence is too detailed and widespread to be simple mythology. Velnara's crystalline form sparkled with dismissive energy. Doctor, you are known for chasing ghost stories. Remember your claims about the lost empire of Zirion? That also turned out to be legend. The crowd murmured agreement. Dr. Quintal had indeed been wrong before. His reputation for wild theories was well known throughout the galaxy. This is different, the doctor insisted. The human ruins contain mathematical formulas at work. Physics equations we have never seen before. Technology blueprints that appear functional. Supreme Chancellor Mordex finally spoke from his elevated throne. He was ancient, even by galactic standards, with silver skin that seemed to absorb light. Dr. Quintal, have you attempted to build any of these supposed human devices? The doctor's large eyes looked down at his feet. No, Chancellor. The materials required do not exist in known space. The energy sources they describe are beyond our current understanding. Then they remain fantasy, Mordex declared. Imaginative fantasy, but fantasy nonetheless. Admiral Kextai made one final attempt. What if we are wrong? What if somewhere in the galaxy, these humans still exist? The ruins suggest they were forced to leave this region of space. They might return. The laughter resumed, louder than before. A floating jellyfish-like being pulsed with bright colors. Admiral, if these mythical humans were so powerful, why did they leave? Surely mighty warriors with planet-cracking weapons would not simply disappear. The records are damaged, Kextai replied weakly. We cannot determine why they left or where they went. Velnara's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Then we have our answer. These humans, if they ever existed at all, are gone, dead, extinct. They pose no threat to anyone. Supreme Chancellor Mordex raised one thin hand, and silence fell across the chamber. The Council has heard enough evidence. We will now vote on the classification of the supposed human species. The vote was swift and overwhelming. Only 3 members supported further investigation. The rest dismissed the entire matter as worthless mythology. Let the record show, Mordex announced, that the species known as humans are hereby classified as extinct mythological species. Classification level, legend. All research funding for this project is terminated. Dr. Quintal slumped in his seat. Admiral Kextai's scales had turned completely black with shame. The data pad containing years of careful research fell heavy in his claws. As the Council moved on to discuss trade routes and mining rights, the human ruins were forgotten. The evidence was filed away in deep storage archives where few would ever see it again. None of the Council members noticed the small energy spike detected by their long-range sensors. Far beyond the galaxy's edge, something had begun moving toward their space. Something large and powerful that traveled between the stars without using any known method of faster-than-light travel. The spike lasted only a few seconds before disappearing. The sensor technician who recorded it assumed it was equipment malfunction and deleted the reading. After all, nothing could exist in the empty void between galaxies. Meanwhile, in that same dark void, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel UES Horizon. His brown eyes studied the ancient beacon they had discovered floating in the cosmic emptiness. The device was older than recorded human history, left behind by ancestors he had never known existed. The beacon's message was simple but terrifying. Children of Earth, the exile ends. The time of return has come. Those who forgot us will remember. Those who dismissed us as myth will learn the truth. Jake turned to his navigation officer, a young woman named Katie Bell. Set course for the galaxy, full speed. Send word to the fleet command. Tell them it's time. As the horizon turned toward distant stars, its engines created ripples in space-time that would soon be detected by every major civilization in the galaxy. The age of human myth was about to become the age of human reality. The Council had made their decision. Soon, they would learn the price of dismissing legends too quickly. In the cold depths of space, the first human warship began its journey home. 3 months passed since the Council dismissed humans as myth. Life in the galaxy continued as normal. Trade ships moved between worlds carrying goods and passengers. Mining stations dug precious metals from asteroids. Everything seemed peaceful and ordinary. Then strange things began to happen. Captain Torvak was hauling grain from the farming world of New Harvest when his sensors picked up something impossible. His cargo ship, the Prophet's Edge, was traveling through the quiet outer territories when alarms started screaming. "What is that?" His navigator gasped, pointing at the main screen. A massive shadow had appeared beside their small ship. It was huge, bigger than any vessel Torvak had ever seen. The thing was easily 10 times the size of a Council dreadnought. Its hull was made of some dark metal that seemed to swallow light and sensor beams. "Run a full scan," Torvak ordered, his forearms shaking as he worked the controls. "Captain, the scanners cannot read it," his engineer reported. "It is like the ship is not really there, but we can see it with our eyes." The strange vessel hung in space for exactly 30 seconds. Then it simply vanished, leaving no trace behind. Torvak and his crew stared at empty space, wondering if they had imagined the whole thing. Similar reports came from across the outer territories. Ghost ships appearing and disappearing. Vessels of unknown design that absorb sensor scans. Ships that move without engine trails or energy signatures. The Council received dozens of these reports, but dismissed them as space madness or equipment failures. After all, no ship could exist without showing up on sensors. It was scientifically impossible. Admiral Kextai was not so sure. The reports reminded him of something from the human ruins. Ancient texts that described ships made of shadow metal that could hide from any detection method. But he had learned to keep such thoughts to himself after the humiliation 3 months earlier. Everything changed on a Tuesday morning when Captain Lisa Parker made first contact. The U.S. Defiance dropped out of hyperspace near the busy trade station of Commerce Point. Unlike the ghost ships reported earlier, this vessel appeared fully on all sensors. It was enormous, its dark hull stretching for miles in every direction. Captain Parker stood on her bridge, looking out at the alien space station through the main window. She was a tall woman with short black hair and calm blue eyes. Behind her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. "Open all communication channels," she ordered. "All frequencies, all languages in our database." The communication officer, a young man named Bobby Walsh, nodded and activated the transmitters. "Ready, Captain." Lisa took a deep breath. These would be the first words between humans and aliens in over 500 years. The weight of history pressed down on her shoulders. "This is Captain Lisa Parker, the United Earth Fleet vessel Defiance," she began. "To all alien civilizations receiving this message, we are human beings. We have returned to reclaim our place among the stars." The message broadcast across space in 17 different alien languages. Within minutes, it reached Commerce Point, then spread to nearby systems through the communication networks. On Commerce Point, alien traders and travelers stopped what they were doing. The words echoed through the station's corridors. Many had never heard the word human before. Others remembered it only as an ancient legend. Station Master Grixnael, a purple-skinned humanoid with 3 eyes, stared at his communication panel. "This cannot be real," he whispered. "Humans are mythology, stories for children." But the massive ship sitting outside the station said otherwise. Within hours, the news reached the Galactic Council. Emergency sessions were called. The great hall filled with confused and frightened representatives. Supreme Chancellor Mordex sat in his throne, looking older than his already ancient years. "Are we certain this is not some elaborate hoax?" Admiral Kextai stood before the assembly, his scales now bright green with vindication. "Chancellor, I have reviewed all available data. The vessel matches descriptions from the human ruins exactly. This appears to be genuine first contact." Ambassador Velnara's crystalline form flickered with nervous energy. "If these are truly the mythical humans, what do they want? Why have they returned now?" Dr. Quintal had spent the last 3 months in his laboratory, studying the human artifacts with new urgency. "The ruins speak of exile," he said. "Perhaps they were forced to leave long ago. Perhaps they have finally found their way home." The council decided to attempt diplomatic contact. Velnara, as the head of diplomatic relations, composed a careful message. "Unknown vessel. This is Ambassador Velnara of the Galactic Council. We seek peaceful dialogue and wish to understand your intentions. Please respond." Captain Parker received the message on her bridge. She read it twice before responding. When she spoke, her voice was cold as winter steel. "Ambassador, we seek nothing from those who erased us from history. Humanity remembers its exile. We remember being forgotten. We have returned stronger than when we left." The council chamber fell silent when they received Parker's reply. The implications were terrifying. If humans had truly been exiled, if they held grudges from centuries past, what did their return mean for galactic civilization? More reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Human ships were appearing everywhere, dozens of them. They moved without using hyperspace lanes, traveling by some method that council scientists could not understand. Fleet Admiral Sarah Blake commanded the human fleet from her flagship, the UES Retribution. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp green eyes that had seen too much war. Her ship was even larger than the Defiance, bristling with weapon systems that council databases could not identify. "Deploy the fleet," she ordered. "Full revelation protocol. Let every world in this galaxy see what they chose to forget." Across known space, human vessels decloaked simultaneously. They appeared in orbit around major worlds, near trade stations, beside military installations. Each ship was a marvel of technology that should not exist according to current science. On the industrial world of heavy metal, workers stopped their mining operations to stare at the dark ship hovering above their city. On the pleasure planet of soft winds, tourists pointed at the vessel that had appeared without warning above their resort. The galaxy suddenly realized that the legends were real. Humans existed. They had returned with technology that made council fleets look like toys. Dr. Emma Collins stood in the science bay of the U.S. Discovery, studying readings from alien worlds. She was a young woman with bright red hair and curious brown eyes. Her job was to learn everything about galactic civilization while revealing nothing about human capabilities. Fascinating, she murmured, watching data streams from a dozen different species. They have made significant advances in some areas, but they still use primitive faster-than-light travel. No wonder they thought our ancestors were mythical. Captain Parker broadcast one final message that day. It reached every communication device in the galaxy. "People of the stars," she said, "you dismissed us as myth because our technology seemed impossible. You forgot us because forgetting was easier than accepting truth. We are no myth. We are human beings, and we have returned home." The galaxy would never be the same. Supreme Chancellor Mordex paced back and forth in his private chamber. The ancient leader had not slept in 3 days. Reports kept flooding in from across the galaxy about human ships appearing everywhere. His advisors sat around a large table, all looking worried and confused. "We must take action," declared Admiral Kextai. His earlier embarrassment had turned into determination. "The Council cannot appear weak before these returned humans." Ambassador Velnara's crystal body pulsed with nervous light. "What kind of action?" "We know nothing about their true capabilities. They claim to be the humans from legend, but legends are often exaggerated." Dr. Quintal looked up from his data pad. "Chancellor, I have been studying every report. Their ships move in ways that break the laws of physics. They appear and disappear without using any known technology." "Impossible!" snorted General Thrackmore from the Military Council. He was a massive creature covered in thick armor plating. "No ship can ignore physics. These humans are using tricks and illusions to seem more powerful than they are." Mordex stopped pacing and turned to face his advisors. "Then we will test them. Admiral Kextai, assemble a fleet, not to attack, but to assert council authority. If these humans are truly as powerful as they claim, they will not be threatened by a show of force." Within 6 hours, 50 council warships gathered in the Kepler Nebula. It was an impressive sight. Massive dreadnoughts, fast cruisers, and support vessels formed a battle line stretching across space. Admiral Kextai commanded from his flagship, the Cosmic Sovereign, the largest ship in the council fleet. The human response was swift. 12 vessels appeared in perfect formation facing the council fleet. Each human ship was different in design, but all shared the same dark metal hull that seemed to absorb light. They hung in space like predators waiting to strike. Captain Dan Miller stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance. He was a middle-aged man with brown hair and steady hands. His ship was smaller than the council flagship, but the crew showed no signs of worry. "Incoming transmission from the council fleet," reported his communications officer. "Put it on screen," Miller ordered. Admiral Kextai's scale face appeared on the main viewer. "Unidentified human vessels. You will submit to council authority and report to the nearest council station for diplomatic processing. This is not a request." Miller smiled coldly. "Admiral, we appreciate your concern for proper procedures. However, humanity answers to no council that forgot we existed. We have been managing quite well on our own." "You are in council space," Kextai insisted. "All vessels must follow council regulations." "Your space." Miller's voice remained calm but carried an edge. "Admiral, humans were traveling these stars before your council existed. We do not recognize your claim to territory that was never yours to begin with." On the Cosmic Sovereign, Admiral Kextai felt his anger rising. These humans showed no respect for established authority. "You will comply or face the consequences," he warned. Captain Miller turned to his tactical officer, a young woman named Rachel Stone. "Initiate training exercise 7. Show our guests what human ships can do." What happened next became known throughout the galaxy as the Kepler demonstration. The human fleet began moving in patterns that should have been impossible. Their ships accelerated instantly without showing engine thrust. They turned at angles that would crush any living crew under gravity forces. The Council fleet opened fire, but something was wrong. Energy beams passed right through the human vessels, as if they were ghosts. Plasma torpedoes exploded harmlessly against invisible shields. Nothing the Council threw at them had any effect. "Sir, they're not even there," reported the center officer on the Cosmic Sovereign. "Our weapons are hitting empty space." Then the human ships began to phase in and out of reality. One moment they were visible, the next they had vanished completely. They reappeared behind Council vessels, above them, below them. The humans were everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Admiral Kextai watched in growing horror as his massive fleet was made to look foolish. The human ships danced around his vessels like sharks circling prey. They never fired a shot, but the message was clear. They could destroy the Council fleet whenever they chose. Captain Miller's voice came across all frequencies. "Admiral, this is what we call a training exercise. Our newest recruits practice these maneuvers. Would you like to see what our experienced pilots can do?" Before Kextai could respond, the largest human vessel moved forward. The UES Retribution was enormous, bigger than 3 Council dreadnoughts put together. Fleet Admiral Sarah Blake commanded this monster ship with quiet confidence. "All Council vessels, you may want to increase distance," Blake announced. "We are about to demonstrate our main weapon system." The Council ships pulled back, but not far enough. Energy began building around the Retribution's main gun. The weapon was unlike anything in Council databases. It looked like a crystalline structure that bent space around it. When the Star Shaker fired, reality itself seemed to scream. The energy beam shot past the Council fleet and struck an empty patch of space. Immediately, gravitational waves rippled outward like stones thrown in a pond. Every ship in the system rocked back and forth as space-time itself was disturbed. 3 nearby stars flickered as the weapon's energy reached them. For a few terrifying seconds, the lights that had burned for millions of years dimmed and wavered. Then they returned to normal. But everyone watching knew they had witnessed power beyond imagination. Admiral Kextai stared at his instruments in disbelief. The energy readings were impossible. No weapon should be able to affect stars from such a distance. His hands shook as he realized the full scope of human technology. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No civilization can command such power." Captain Miller's voice came across the communication channel one final time. "Admiral, you called us myth. You dismissed our history as legend. Now you see the truth. We're no myth. We are the storm your ancestors feared to remember." The human fleet began to fade from sensors as they engaged their strange cloaking systems. One by one, they vanished until only empty space remained. The Council fleet hung alone in the nebula, their pride shattered and their understanding of the universe changed forever. Admiral Kextai sent a message back to the Council. "Supreme Chancellor, the humans are real. Their power is beyond our ability to resist. We have made a grave error in dismissing them as mythology." On the UES Discovery, Dr. Emma Collins finished recording detailed scans of alien technology. Her scientific mind was fascinated by how primitive some of their systems were compared to human advances. "Send a message to all galactic universities," she told her communications officer. "Share our basic physics principles with them. Let them understand what they dismissed as impossible magic." The message that followed revolutionized alien science overnight. Human equations that solved problems alien. Scientists had struggled with for centuries. Principles of space-time manipulation that opened entirely new fields of study. News of the Kepler demonstration spread across the galaxy faster than light. Species that had mocked human legends now whispered in fear. The old stories their ancestors had told were not fantasy after all. Humans were real. They had returned, and they possessed technology that made them like gods among mortals. The galaxy was no longer the same place it had been a week ago. News of the Kepler demonstration spread to every world, every station, every ship traveling between the stars. Some species panicked. Others quietly began reconsidering their loyalty to the Galactic Council. On the water world of Deep Current, the cetacean swimmers held an emergency gathering. These whale-like beings lived in vast underwater cities and were known for their peaceful nature. Elder Song Bearer floated in the center of the council chamber, her massive form glowing with bioluminescent patterns. The old songs were true. She sang in the deep tones of her people. Our ancestors spoke of sky swimmers who helped us reach the stars. They called them humans. The council made us say these were just stories, but we never forgot. Similar meetings took place across the galaxy. The warrior Ursic clans on the ice world of Frozen Claw gathered around their ceremonial fires. Chief Battle Roar, a massive bear-like creature, stood before his assembled warriors. The ancient tales speak of hairless warriors who fought beside our ancestors, he growled. They taught us honor in battle and mercy for the defeated. The council called these stories primitive myths, but our elders kept the truth alive in secret. These species and others began sending quiet messages to the human fleet. They offered friendship, alliance, and most importantly, they shared their real histories. Stories that had been suppressed for generations. Tales of humans who had helped, guided, and protected other species in ages past. Supreme Chancellor Mordex received reports of these defections with growing alarm. His ancient face looked even older as stress took its toll. The council was fracturing as member species remembered what they had been forced to forget. "We must act," he announced to his remaining advisors. "The humans threaten everything we have built. If we do nothing, the council will collapse." General Thrackmore slammed his armored fist on the table. "Then we fight. Gather every loyal species. Build the largest fleet in galactic history. Show these humans that we will not surrender our authority." Dr. Quintal looked up from his research pad. "General, did you not see the reports from Kepler? They made Admiral Kextai's fleet look like children playing with toys. How can we fight beings who can affect stars with their weapons?" "We outnumber them," Thrackmore insisted. "I have counted their ships. Less than 100 vessels. We can assemble thousands." Ambassador Velnara's crystalline form flickered with doubt. "Quality versus quantity, General. What good are thousands of ships if they cannot hit their targets?" But Mordex had already made his decision. The call went out across loyal council space. Every species that still followed the old order was ordered to contribute ships to a massive armada. The message was simple. Humanity posed a threat to galactic peace and order. They must be stopped. The response was impressive. Over 300 warships gathered at the Sigma Centauri system. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, fighters, and support vessels from dozens of worlds. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Fleet Admiral Ryan Thompson received the intelligence reports aboard his flagship, the UES Testament. He was a quiet man with gray hair and kind eyes that had a sharp, tactical mind. His ship was so massive that smaller vessels mistook it for a moon when they first saw it on sensors. "They are gathering quite a force," observed his tactical officer, Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster. "Over 300 vessels confirmed." Thompson studied the tactical display. Red dots representing enemy ships filled the hologram. His own fleet showed as blue dots, fewer than 80 ships total. "Send word to all human vessels," he ordered. "Full battle stations. But remember the rules of engagement. We are not conquerors. We seek recognition, not destruction." Captain Lisa Parker commanded a squadron of 12 ships from her vessel, the UES New Dawn. She had been promoted after her successful first contact missions. Her orders were clear. Disable enemy vessels when possible. Destroy them only if necessary. The two fleets met at Sigma Centauri on a Tuesday morning. The Council Armada spread across space in a massive battle formation. Admiral Kextai commanded the fleet from his repaired flagship, still smarting from his earlier humiliation. "All ships, this is Admiral Kextai," he broadcast his fleet. "Today we defend galactic civilization from an ancient threat. Show these humans that legends can be defeated by modern military science." The human response was immediate and devastating. 78 human warships moved as one perfect organism. They flowed around the council formation like water around stones. Energy weapons that bent space and time carved through alien defenses. But the humans did not come to slaughter. When council ships were disabled, they were left alone. When crews evacuated damaged vessels, human ships protected the escape pods. This was not the brutal conquest many had expected. The UES Testament's main weapon charged slowly. Admiral Thompson waited until he had a clear shot that would not endanger any alien crews. When the Star Shaker fired, it created a space-time distortion that shut down 50 Council vessels at once. Their crews were unharmed, but their ships were completely powerless. All Council vessels. This is Admiral Thompson. His voice carried across all frequencies. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your shields cannot stop us. But we do not wish to destroy you. We seek only recognition of what we are. The battle lasted less than 30 minutes. The Council's greatest armada was scattered like leaves in a storm. Ships drifted powerless through space, while their crews wondered how they had been defeated so completely. Admiral Kextai sat in his darkened command center, staring at displays that showed the scope of his defeat. His communications officer approached carefully. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human commander." "Put it through," Kextai said quietly. Admiral Thompson's face appeared on the main screen. His expression was not cruel or mocking. Instead, he looked tired and sad. "Admiral, your courage is admirable, but this war cannot be won with weapons. The question now is whether the galaxy will remember how to coexist with us, or if you will repeat the mistakes that led to our exile long ago." Supreme Chancellor Mordex watched the battle from his chambers on Zentera Prime. When the reports came in describing total defeat, he finally asked a question that should have been asked months earlier. "What do you want from us?" he transmitted to the human fleet. Captain Lisa Parker answered from the bridge of the New Dawn. She had been chosen as humanity's diplomatic voice, and her words would reshape galactic civilization. "We want our history restored," she said. "We want the truth told to every species in this galaxy. We want recognition that humanity was never a myth. We were a people who were erased from memory by those who feared what we represented." The negotiations that followed took place aboard the neutral station Geneva, built specifically for the talks. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered to witness the signing of what became known as the Sigma Accords. The agreement was comprehensive. Humanity would receive a permanent seat on a reformed galactic assembly. The old council structure was dissolved, replaced by a more democratic system. Most importantly, the real history of human involvement in galactic civilization would be restored and taught to all species. Dr. Alex Stone, humanity's chief historian, established the Archive of Remembrance. The massive database contained every story, every legend, every suppressed history about human interactions with alien civilizations. Children across the galaxy would now learn the truth about the species that had once walked among the stars. Admiral Kextai approached Captain Parker during the final ceremony. His scales had returned to their normal green color, and his bearing showed new respect. "Captain, I owe you an apology. I dismissed your people as myth when I should have listened to the evidence." Parker smiled and extended her hand in the human gesture of friendship. "Admiral, we all make mistakes. What matters is learning from them." As the ceremony concluded and representatives returned to their worlds, the galaxy entered a new age. Human ships patrolled space not as conquerors, but as guardians. They shared their knowledge freely and helped other species advance their own technologies. On a small world on the galaxy's rim, alien children gathered around their teacher. She held up a holographic display, showing a human starship. "Who can tell me about the humans?" she asked. A young student raised her tentacle eagerly. "They are the guardians who watch the stars. They help other species and protect the weak. They are real, not myths." The teacher smiled. "Very good. And what do we learn from their story?" Another student spoke up, that we should never dismiss something as impossible just because we do not understand it. And we should never forget those who came before us. Far above in orbit, a human patrol ship detected the lesson being taught. Captain Bobbychin smiled as he listened to the children learning the truth. The age of forgetting was over. The age of remembrance had begun. Humanity had returned not as conquerors, but as teachers. They had shaken the very stars to reclaim their place in history. Now they would ensure that no species would ever again be dismissed as myth.